My whole family was invited to my cousin's baby shower, except me. I found out through a Facebook post. Balloon arch, pastel cookies, matching dresses. Even Grandma flew in for it. I texted my aunt just to be sure. Maybe it was an oversight. Maybe the invite got lost. Her reply came fast. We didn't think you'd enjoy it since you can't have kids. I stared at those words until they blurred. Then my mom followed up like punctuation to a wound. It would have just made things uncomfortable. For you and for everyone else. Like my grief was something contagious. Like my body's silence made their joy louder. I took a breath, swallowed the lump in my throat, and typed back. You're right. I wouldn't have enjoyed that one. Then I turned off my phone. My name is Eliza. And if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned. What happens when they erase you from the story, but you come back as the headline? 2 weeks later, I sent out my own invitations. Handwritten. No digital copies. No leaks. Venue, private. Dress code, neutral tones. Theme, wholeness. No one knew what it meant.
Until they arrived.
A soft-lit garden. Acoustic music. Tables dressed in sage and ivory. And me standing in the center, baby in arms. Wrapped in a honey-colored blanket, cooing beneath fairy lights. A judge stood beside me. A social worker smiled from the edge of the crowd. And when I spoke, my voice didn't shake. I'd like to welcome you to a celebration of something long prayed for, cried over, and finally answered. I paused. Please meet my daughter. And yes, she didn't come alone. 2 steps behind me, a nurse wheeled out a second carrier. Twin boys. Brothers.
Ours.
The gasps were audible. But louder were the notifications. By morning, the photos had gone viral. And the comments? Oh, the comments had teeth. The first comment was from my cousin, the one whose baby shower I wasn't welcome at.
Wow.
Didn't know this was happening. Congrats, I guess? I didn't reply, because this wasn't about them anymore. It never really was. They just made themselves the center of a story they weren't even invited to hear. But the internet? The internet heard me loud and clear. The post hit 200K likes in 2 days. Strangers wrote things like, "This gave me chills." Adoption stories like "This deserve billboards." "The way she said didn't come alone." Iconic. And buried beneath the praise? A single message from my mom. "Why didn't you tell us?" I stared at that one for a while, because I had told her about the paperwork, the waiting, the interviews, the nursery I built with my own 2 hands. She just didn't listen.
Didn't ask.
Didn't care until it was public. I typed back. You made it clear I wasn't part of the baby conversations anymore. I didn't think you'd be comfortable. She left it on read. The next day, Aunt Valerie called. The same aunt who said, "We didn't think you'd enjoy it." She started with fake sweetness. "We were just shocked, Eliza. You didn't prepare us." I let her speak. Then I said, "You threw a whole shower without me. But somehow I'm the one who should have prepared you."
Silence.
I didn't need permission to become a mother, I added. I just needed peace. And I had it now. The twins were small, fussy, unpredictable, and perfect. Their cries filled the house with something sacred. Their bottles sat where wine glasses used to be. Their presence rewrote every definition I'd once been handed. And in the stillness of 3 a.m., as I rocked one and hummed to the other, I whispered something only the walls heard. You were worth every room I was left out of. By the end of the week, my family chat was chaos. Screenshots of the adoption post bounced around. Someone said I made them look bad. Another asked if I'd done this for attention. And Mom? She played the sympathy card. Told everyone she was heartbroken to find out through Instagram. I didn't defend myself. Didn't explain the late nights, the screenings, the 5 failed matches before these 3 finally came home. Because explanations were for people who earned them. And they hadn't. Ava, the cousin who threw the baby shower, finally texted me directly. Ava, it just would have been nice to know. We're family. Me. You're right. Family should know. So why didn't I? She never answered. Instead, Mom called the next day. No hello. Just, you could have waited until after the holidays.
It was a lot.
I almost laughed. They excluded me from every holiday, every baby event, every conversation about real motherhood. Now that the spotlight shifted, suddenly I was too much. So I told her calmly, don't worry. You won't have to make space. We're building our own traditions. Then I hung up. That night, my doorbell rang. It was Aunt Valerie, holding a teddy bear and a cake from the store. I opened the door slowly. We wanted to welcome the babies, she said.
We.
As in the same people who didn't want me in the room 2 months ago. I looked her in the eye and said, they're asleep. And I'm not interested in sugar-covered guilt. She blinked. I'm trying. I nodded. And I'm resting. Then I closed the door, locked it, and returned to the nursery, where my 3 children breathed soft and steady beneath a mobile of stars. They didn't need cakes. They needed presents. And mine would never be optional again. After that night, the silence got awkward. Not peaceful like before. Awkward, like a room full of people pretending they didn't choke on their own judgment. No more texts from Mom. No new comments from my cousin. Just the occasional breadcrumb. A like here, a vague story post there. They were circling, watching, waiting for me to fold. But I didn't. I was too busy memorizing bottle schedules, learning lullabies, and falling in love with chaos. One afternoon, I posted a video. All 3 babies giggling on the play mat, drool and squeals and pure light. Caption: my miracle times 3. It went viral again. Hundreds of women messaged me privately. Infertility warriors. Single mothers. Foster to adopt families who'd been made to feel less than by their own blood. One message stuck with me. Your story is the first time I didn't feel ashamed. Thank you for making space for us. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just a celebration. It was a reclamation. I started writing. Late nights after the babies were down. Stories. Essays. Posts about what it means to be a mother without biology. Without approval. Without applause. It caught attention. A major parenting site asked me to contribute. A podcast wanted to feature my journey. I said yes. Not for fame. But because truth deserves a microphone. Especially when it's been smothered for years. And then came the message from my brother. Hey, just heard about the twins. Didn't know there were 3. Congrats. We should catch up. I stared at it. This was the same man who stood silent when Mom made infertility jokes. The same man who handed out party favors at a baby shower I wasn't invited to. I didn't reply. Because closure isn't something I owed anyone anymore. It was something I gave myself. The moment I picked up my daughter, felt her hand curl around my finger, and whispered, "You'll never feel left out of the room that built you." The podcast aired on a Monday morning. I almost didn't listen, too busy burping one baby and soothing another. But when I finally hit play, I froze. Because I heard my voice.
Calm.
Steady. But laced with everything they ignored for years. I was always told I'd make a great aunt, I said in the episode. Never a mother. As if nurture depended on biology or permission. Then the host asked, "What would you say to the people who excluded you?" I answered without hesitation. "Thank you. You made space for me to find the children who are waiting, not in my past, but in my future." By noon, my inbox exploded. Not from strangers. From family. Aunt Valerie. "That was unfair, Eliza. You made us sound cruel." "Mom, why did you make this public? This could have been private." "Cousin Ava, you're clearly still bitter. This isn't healing, it's performance." But that's the thing they never understood. When your pain was made private for so long, healing out loud isn't revenge. It's justice. So I didn't respond. Instead, I posted a follow-up video. The twins asleep on my chest. My daughter in the background, painting stars on the wall. Caption: Healing isn't quiet. It's bright. And if that burns the ones who tried to dim you, let it. The comments poured in again. "This is what resilience looks like. I hope my future daughter sees women like you." And suddenly, my narrative wasn't theirs anymore. Not edited through their shame. Not filtered through their discomfort. It was mine. Messy.
Loud.
Beautiful. That evening, Mom sent one last message. I don't know who you've become. I looked at my reflection in the window. Dark circles. Full heart. A woman holding 3 lives together with nothing but love and grit. And I whispered to the glass. Me neither. But I like her. The invitations came 2 weeks later. Glossy white envelopes with silver script. Ava's baby's first birthday. And this time, I was included. But not really. The invite was addressed to the Clark family. No names. No warmth. Inside, a sticky note from Mom. Let's move past all this. The babies would love a cousin to play with. Like nothing happened. Like a whole year of silence could be smoothed over with cake and confetti. I held the invite over the trash can, then paused. Not out of doubt, out of clarity. Because they didn't want reconciliation. They wanted reputation repair. They saw the headlines, the podcast, the TEDx invite that just landed in my inbox. Suddenly, I was valuable. A good look, a photo op, and I had no interest in performing for a family that only loved me when it was convenient.
So I didn't RSVP.
Instead, I bought balloons. Not for them, for us. A quiet celebration in our living room. Finger paint. A homemade banner that said, 1 year as a family. Because our family didn't start when someone else handed us permission. It started the moment I held them and promised, you're safe now. That night, I posted a picture. My daughter grinning, frosting on her cheeks. The boys tugging at streamers with chubby hands. Caption. We weren't invited to the old table. So we built our own. Smaller, but honest. Hours later, Ava posted from her party. All beige. Matching outfits. Perfect lighting. Not a single smile that reached the eyes. The comment said, beautiful. But mine said, free. Because I wasn't chasing legacy anymore. I was living it. And I finally understood. Sometimes the best revenge is being too full to sit at their table. 3 days after Ava's party, I got the call. Blocked number. But I knew that hesitation in the breath. It was Mom. She didn't waste time. I saw your post, she said flatly. You made us look heartless. I stayed quiet. Because silence is louder when you've already said everything. She tried again. You could have at least shown up for the baby. He's your blood. And that's when something in me snapped. Not in rage, in clarity. I showed up, I said. For birthdays you never remembered. For holidays you forgot I spent alone. For dreams you laughed at. I showed up. You just didn't see me. She exhaled hard. Then came the line I'll never forget. You're making this bigger than it is.
No, Mom.
You made it small. Small enough to leave me off a guest list. Small enough to tell me I'd make things uncomfortable. Small enough to pretend your cruelty was protection. And now that I'd outgrown your box, it scared you. I hung up, not with anger, with relief. Because that version of me, the one waiting for an open seat, a polite smile, a crumb of love,
was gone.
That night, I sat with my kids on the floor, surrounded by toy chaos and crayon-streaked walls. My daughter curled against my arm. Are we a big family, Mommy? I looked around. 3 little faces. 1 whole heart. The biggest kind, I whispered. Because we weren't bound by blood. We were bound by choice. And no invitation could define that. The next morning I got a text. Aunt Valerie, we're planning a Mother's Day brunch. Thought you might want to come. I didn't reply. Instead, I drafted an email to my publisher. Subject, book title pitch. Left out, lifted up, a memoir. Because I wasn't just telling my story anymore. I was owning it. Mother's Day arrived.
Bright. Soft. Quiet.
No brunch. No florist deliveries. No posts tagged with my name. Just waffles in our kitchen, sticky fingers, and 3 voices yelling over one another for more syrup. And it was perfect. Later that afternoon, I sat on the porch swing, a twin in each arm, my daughter braiding strands of yarn beside me. That's when I checked my email. A message from the publisher. We'd love to move forward with your memoir. Your story isn't just timely, it's necessary. I stare at those words for a long time, because for years I believed my silence was protection. Now I saw it for what it was. A cage. And every time they called me bitter, too much, or difficult, what they really meant was, you stopped letting us walk over you. The book would tell the truth. About infertility. About adoption. About being left out, talked over, and then expected to return smiling for cake. But more than anything, it would be about building your own damn table, even if you have to carry the wood yourself. That night, I posted one final photo. My kids asleep on the couch. A book draft on the table. The caption? They said I wasn't a mother. Now I tuck in 3 of them every night and write the story no one else dared to. No hashtags. No tags. No need. A week later, Mom called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. I hope the kids are well. I wish things were different.
So did I.
But I didn't wish for her anymore. I wished for softness. For safety. For futures full of yes after a lifetime of no. I looked at my babies.
Not born for me,
But born for me. And whispered, you were always mine. No table. No invitation.
no apology could match that.
Because sometimes, the people who leave you out are just clearing space for everything you were meant to build.